Hey everybody, welcome back to QuintelDesigns.com HD tutorials. Today we're going to be making a Groovy retro poster design to celebrate the Beatles Rock Band. So strap in and get ready to fire up Illustrator. Let's create a new web document. We're going to call this Groovy. 1500 pixels by 700 pixels will be the width and height of the document. It's going to be really long and pretty narrow. We'll hit OK, and you can see how long and narrow this document is. First, we're going to start off by using our rectangle tool and creating just one solid rectangle like this in the middle of the page. Now, we're going to use Object, Path, and we're going to split into a grid. But we're not actually going to change the number of columns in our grid. Instead, we're going to change it here to 5 rows. And you can see if you click off there, our object is separated. Let's bring the gutter down to 0 and hit OK. So now we have a split up 5-column rectangle. Now what we want to do is select our rectangle and squish it a little bit. And Control G or right click and group the rectangle. So now all of these are one solid object. Now if you click and drag and hold down Alt, I want you to make 2 copies. So now we have 3 of these divided up rectangles. And that's exactly what we're looking for. The one on the top we're going to hide, so Control 3. Now with our 2 rectangles here, we're going to treat them the exact same way. Let's make our rectangle at the top a red. Let's go for a real red, even a little bit on the dark side. So for numbers, 170R, 0G, 0B. Then for our next 2 rows, we're going to go slightly more orange. And I'm just evening out the numbers here. So for that we're going to do 240, 0. Our next row, probably 0 again here in B. Then our G will bring to 115 is perfect, and 255 also is good. And our numbers here are going to be 255, 175, and 40. And to round off the bottom, you can use the eyedropper and capture what you had at the top. Now, selecting both of these, we're going to select the stroke color and get rid of it. So now we just have touching lines, and you see there's no black lines in between them. And now we're going to have some fun with effects. Take your 2 rectangles and scale them down so you can see them both on the document at the same time. Now that we have these 2 in our document, we're going to Effect, Warp, and we're going to flag them. Now be sure to check off Preview so you can see this happen in real time. But our bend will be, let's say, 50. And our horizontal will go all the way to, how about 70? And vertical, we can do 10. So you can see the effect that's happening here. We'll hit OK. With our second group selected, we'll Effect, and you can see here flag is already in the menu, or you can go to Warp, flag again, And our old values are there, so if you click on preview, you see the same effect. But we're going to go negative with the numbers. So negative 50, negative 70. We're going to actually leave vertical alone because that is the positive number we're looking for. And we're going to hit OK. Now, seeing as these both look identical and we want them to be a little different, let's stretch out our left one. And our right one we'll bring over here closer. And we'll even squish it down. Now you see our right and our left aren't very in harmony. So, in order to get these fitting where we need them to, we're going to cut out these shapes. First we'll select both shapes and we'll object expand. And that basically takes the effect and applies it to the object. So this is no longer an object with an effect. Instead, it's actually a series of bent lines. So one of these objects is going to go in front and behind the other one. We want the longer one to be our front. So we'll take this object here and we're going to throw it in the back. Let's position our two objects. And you can see here I'm just sizing it to whatever looks right. And that looks about right to me. So this guy sits in the background, this guy sits in the foreground, and we have ourselves our ribbony effect. Now we're going to take these and spread them across the bottom. So make them big. You can even flatten them out a little further if you like. And get these to be from one side to the next side of the document. And you can see here I'm holding down Shift 2 because I want to keep these in the same perspective so that they look right. I may even move this bottom one down for an additional look at this object behind it. Like that, a little bit better. So now we're going to put in the background. In case you're looking right here, don't worry, this is not going to be seen in the finished document. So we're going to put a backdrop in and get ready to do our sky. Let's make a new layer. And on the new layer, we'll click on our rectangle tool and click once on the canvas. And we'll make it our document size, which is 1500 by 700. Hit OK. And there's that blue that we picked before. What we're going to do here is using our alignment tool, we're going to align this to the middle of the document and to the center of the document, so it's perfectly taking up the whole bounds. This option I checked here was align to artboard. Remember, if you align to selection, you have to have something else selected to align it. So align to artboard is going to allow this to go slap dab in the middle of our document. With this selected, let's bring this layer underneath layer 1. And we'll name this layer while we're at it. We'll call it Sky. Now, that doesn't look bad. It does look a little unusual, this bright blue, and kind of harsh on the eyes. So, let's pick some new colors. In fact, a gradient. For our gradient, we're going to do first black, or even a very dark blue. Say, yeah, 31 is fine. It's a little odd, but we'll work with it. And in our gradient palette, we'll take that color and we'll drag it down. And you can see we started to make a gradient, and our blue here is in the middle of these two, black and white. Let's get rid of black. You can click on black and drag it off the palette. And move our dark blue, if you will, all the way all the way to the right. Now, we're going to click to the right of that and make a second dark blue. So you see this is all happening in the gradient palette. We're going to pull down our white and get rid of that. and pull one of our dark blues over. So now we have a gradient, but it's all one color. Let's make the degree of our gradient 90. And then our first color we can change to be something different. And I would say something along here is pretty good. It looks like my numbers are 54, 77, 128. Not very memorable. How about 55, 75, and 125? And then, just like that, our sky's complete. We're going to lock that layer. Down here in the layer palette, I click on the little lock icon. Now, we're going to make some clouds. The clouds we're going to make are a really fun technique that I just picked up recently and started to have fun with. In Adobe CS4, there's a tool called the symbol sprayer. And we're going to use that symbol sprayer to make something that would normally be much harder a lot easier. And I'll show you how right now. First, let's go to our tools palette and we're going to make a circle. Grab the ellipse tool, make sure you have layer 1 selected. In fact, let's make these on a new layer, and we'll call this new layer Clouds. Click once on the canvas and let's make a circle that is 50 pixels by 50 pixels. And we'll hit OK. We don't want this a gradient, let's make it white. Now we've got a circle, and it's this nice white boring circle in the middle of nowhere, not doing much. We're going to go to our symbols palette and make a new symbol. And the way we do that is have our circle selected and click on this new page icon. And we'll call this cloud. Now, I know this doesn't look much like a cloud now, but it will. We're going to make this a graphic, not a movie clip. And its flash registration will actually be in the middle. That's if you're using Flash. You don't need to actually even set this, but I like to just in case. And hit OK. So, now this is still a circle, and more importantly, it's useless to us. So, let's just delete it. Where the magic happens is over here on the left with our symbol sprayer tool. You can see here, and I'll double click to show you some options. Our diameter is 200 pixels, intensity 8, it's fixed. All these are set to average. This is all the default settings for this brush. I'll hit OK. Select our white circle, which you can't see well in the symbol palette, but it is there. So with that selected, use our symbol sprayer and just begin to populate our cloud. And that's good for one. We'll do a second one. And we'll do a third one down here. And the third one, give it two very different sides. So now you can see these are all one object, and that's fine because they're all symbols. The next tool we're going to use is the symbol expander, or the symbol sizer. This basically takes circles from within our symbols and blows them up, and it's going to provide the filler for our clouds. The way this works is take the symbol sizer, select one circle, put it in the middle of the circle, and tap. And you can see here what we're doing is making these circles a little more cloud-like. Now, I don't want you to fill in everything. You'll just end up losing a lot of details that way. You can see you can make some really interesting things with this tool. Finally, once these are looking puffy but still have some outliers, we're going to Object, Expand, hit OK, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to Object, expand them again, and hit OK. So now that turned our symbols back into circles. So now it's like we made a whole bunch of randomly sized circles, but we let the computer do it for us. Before we continue, I'm going to lock layer 1, so I can't select these stripes here in the background. Now, actually with the circle tool, go in, and I'm holding down Shift and Alt, and fill out your clouds. Make them puffy, make them all connected. Don't leave any open space for these clouds. And you can see, you just have to take your time with this one, but the result is really cool, so stick with it. And now that our clouds are filled out, it's time to do one final hurrah, and Pathfinder, and of course combine them. So now we have 3 solid white objects. We're going to right click and ungroup them so we can move them separately. And the first cloud, I like this guy as our middle cloud. This feels like a right cloud to me. This feels like a right cloud. Sorry, this is left cloud. So I gotta learn my directions as well as figure out which cloud I'm dealing with. And you gotta find, I'm actually going to transform and reflect that. You find whichever side works for you, and you can rotate these things. There's no rules to what you can or cannot do with these clouds, and you can see I'm covering up that edge that was there. Now with our cloud selected, we'll select all 3 in this case. We're going to make copies of them. So with all 3 selected, hold down Alt and drag. So now we made 3 cloud copies, and we want to decipher these differently, so we'll make them blue. And these are going to be the inside of our clouds. So let's take one, hold down Shift and scale it down, and try and fit it inside one of our clouds. And you're going to notice some sides are touching, and that's okay. And that looks pretty good to me. Here we're going to do the same thing, scale it down. We want this one to be smaller all the way around. Same thing here. And of course, for all the sides that are touching, which we don't want, we're going to select all these and give them a white stroke. So select the stroke color, select white, and we'll even bring that up to, say, 5 points. And click on, right here, a line stroke. Let's put it outside. So that gives these objects a little bit of room to breathe. With all of these selected, we'll Control A, and we'll do our old expand. Control A, and I expand again for good luck. That's not a joke, it actually is for good luck. Then we'll use our Pathfinder to divide. I select my white, combine it. Select my blue, combine that. And our clouds are done. But they look a little boring with that blue. So when you select your blue, go ahead and make that a gradient too. And this gradient will be lighter. So for our darker color, that'll be 0, 75, 85. And for our lighter color, we'll do 120, 170, and 230. So both pretty toned down, and our angle will say make 35 degrees. Negative 35 looks a little bit better to me with the highlight on top. So now that we have our clouds completed, we're going to ungroup them. We're going to take our ungrouped clouds and make this one our background cloud. So with your background cloud, we'll group it, and we'll put one here underneath. And we'll hold down Alt and drag over here and make one underneath here as well. And our clouds are complete. So now we have nice stripes, nice clouds. Good. Let's create a new layer, and we're going to do the stars. Stars are very easy. We'll select our circle tool, click once, and we're going to do this 5 pixels by 5 pixels. That's a tiny little dot here. We're also going to make it white so it stands out, and we're going to give it an effect. It's an effect, and I'll actually zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. There's the white dot, 5 pixels. Effect, stylize, outer glow. The outer glow is going to be white. We're going to make it a 5 pixel blur. And the opacity, we'll drum up to say 80%. Yeah, I like it at 100%. I think it's even better. And hit OK. So what you see here is a little glowing white orb. And that's going to be one of our stars. In our symbol tool, we'll make a new symbol and call it star. It's a graphic, not a movie. And we'll hit OK. Then again with our symbol brush, symbol sprayer, we're going to double click it and turn down its intensity to 6. This is basically going to make it spray slower. And then we're going to dot these across. And you can see it only made a few, and that's good. Now I'm going to click away and do it one more time. And it's important that you click away, or else it'll continue to add to that symbol. Here I make more stars, and this time I'm going to go even heavier, and they go in between the other stars. And these stars, I'm going to make them transparent down to 20%. And you can see that gives a nice level of depth to the picture, and pretty easy to do with that symbol sprayer tool. Finally, we only have 2 things left to do: texture and text. So our texture is simple. I've provided 2 files at quinteldesigns.com that you can download for free. One of them is a cloth texture, another one is stained texture. I desaturated them both. I went and did some things in Photoshop, stuff you won't have to worry about. You can grab them right free from my website. So check out quinteldesigns.com and look for this tutorial. They'll be right in the post for you to grab for free. First, we'll file place in our desat cloth. You can see our cloth texture there. I'm going to take that, put it in. We're even going to drag it out a little bit across our image. Make sure you have your layers unlocked for this, because we want this to go down to our stripe layers. You can hide your stars and clouds. Now, on your stripe layer, we're going to mask out this cloth. Take both your stripes. With those selected, go to Object, Expand Appearance. Hold down Alt and do our double tap again. Tap left, let go of Alt, tap right. Change this to a funky color. We'll do green and combine it. So now we have a solid mask for this cloth texture. We're going to drag our cloth up and take our green, right click, arrange it and bring it to the front on top of the cloth. Then I'm going to hold down Shift and select the cloth. Now this whole process is kind of complicated. Don't worry, we're about to do it again a couple times for the cloud, so just stick with me and we'll go through it a couple more times. With both of these selected, right click and make a clipping mask. So now you can see our cloth. Good. We'll lock layer 1 again. Well, let's name layer 1 stripes. So we know what we're dealing with here. We're going to hide stripes too. Now let's show the cloud layer, and we're going to texture these as well. We're going to File, Place in our desaturated stain. You can see that stained look there. And bring that over here. And we'll bring a second one over here, because we've got 2 clouds, and I'll even move it down so we've got different sections of the stain on each. And what we need to do is make copies of our clouds. So, just the blue part on each. You can ungroup them to get to it. Select both blues here. Hold down Alt. Tap left. Let go of Alt. Tap right. Make them a funky color. We'll do red because clouds definitely aren't red. We'll do the same thing over here. We're just prepping these both. Select both of our blues. Tap. Hold down Alt. Tap left. Let go of Alt. Tap right. And red. And now we're going to need 4 of these stained images to do this. So, stain 1 we'll throw here. We'll take our red, right click, transform, arrange, and select are the bottom options. We're going to arrange, bring to front, make sure this is all the way underneath. Select them both, right click, make clipping mask. There's one down. Now we'll take another copy of it. Take the red, right click, arrange, bring to front. Select the image, hold down Shift, select that, make a clipping mask. We'll do that 2 more times. Arrange front, bring this over, make a clipping mask, and our final one right here, red. Bring it to the front, bring this over, and we'll make that a clipping mask. Now you can show our stripes layer, and you can say, this isn't looking quite as colorful as it used to. Well, don't worry, that's where all of this is going to change now. First we'll select a cloud clipping mask, and we're going to put it on mode multiply and drum it down to say 50%. And you can do that for the rest of these too. 50%, mode, multiply. You can see the different effects you get with that. Make sure these are arranged properly as well. arrange, bring the front to our front clouds. And you can see there's a nice textured effect. Same thing with our cloth layer back here. Put it on multiply mode and drum that down to about 50%. And you can see now a little bit of texture happening. Turn back on our stars, and we've got a pretty groovy poster. It doesn't look too bad. Now, some of you may remember that hidden rectangle that we made at the beginning. Well, now you can show that and do the same thing we did before. So I actually like to do this one in black and white. We'll go black, then we'll come over here and do a dark gray. I'll do a lighter gray. Goes all the way to white. I turn off the stroke, and this one will do a different effect too. I like this to be an arc lower, and that looks crazy. Zero these out. Turn up the bend and the vertical. Here we can actually make pretty big. Bend it even more. We'll squish it, stretch it out, squish it even more. We'll put it on luminosity mode. Makes it the same color as the sky, and bring its opacity down to say maybe even 10%. And that gives us our bands across the sky as well. That's it, except for text treatment, which of course you can do whatever you like, and you do actually get a really nice result and a really clean result. And it's vector, it's scalable, it's Illustrator. So have fun, go make your retro posters and then share them on Quintel Designs, and have a great time. This is all supposed to be fun, so enjoy.